Hi, this is Alex from PHP Academy. In this video we are going to be looking at sending email via SMTP. It's extremely easy and it uses the pair package that does come with most installations. If you're using something like XAMPP or WAMP, you should be okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to first of all define all of the details about our SMTP server, things like that. It sounds complicated, but it's not. Creating a new instance of the mail class, and then we're going to be sending the email. So I've got a blank PHP file open at the moment, and I've got my mail client open to receive email as well, so we can test this. So I'm going to be connecting to a mail server, which obviously I have access to. If you don't already have access to a mail server, you need to go ahead and find out the SMTP server details from your mail provider, or if you have your own hosting, you should be able to find these out either through some kind of control panel or by speaking to your hosting provider. So the first thing we want to do is open a PHP tag, and we want to require the pair mail.php class. What we then want to do is create a new instance of this class. So I'm going to say mail, create a new variable, is new mail. So we now have created an instance of this class. We can now use any methods that belong to this class. But the first thing we're going to do is define things like headers and the authentication process as well, or the authentication variables that we'll be sending through to the factory method a bit later on. So I'm going to create an associative array, or an array first, and then pull this down, and we'll start to define the key and the values. So the first key is going to be from. This just defines who this email is from. I'll just tab that over slightly, and this is going to be from no reply at phpacademy.org, and then down here I'm going to specify a subject, which is going to be hello. And obviously these will be replaced in depending on how you're sending an email. If it's something like a contact form, or you're just sending general emails out, you would define these as you send email. You might even want to create another class or a function that does all this for you, and you can just pass in specific variables. So that's all we need for the headers. We're going to we'll supply the body when we actually use the send method again later on. So we now want to create another array, which is auth, and this is another associative array, so we need key value pairs here. The first is going to be auth, and this is just going to be true, and this just tells us that we do need authentication for the SMTP server that we're going to be sending these details to. We need to provide a host. We also need to provide a username, and we need to obviously provide a password. So the host in my case is mail.phpacademy.org. The username is my email address. However, because I'm using an @ symbol, I need to replace this with a plus. That's how it's authenticated. And then my password is temporarily set to bananas. So what we need to do now is create a variable that holds the ability to then send an email. And by this we're going to say SMTP. By this I mean we're going to say SMTP is equal to mail. So we're accessing a method from this class we've created a new instance of up here, and that is factory. And what we want to do is we want to say SMTP and then pass in our authentication details. What we then want to do is use SMTP to go ahead and use this send method to actually send all these details. Now what are we missing here? Well, we've got our headers, which defines where our email comes from, and our subject. What we don't have is who this email's to, or the body of the email. So the first parameter here is going to be who this is to. So I'm just going to statically include an email address in there that I can check. We're then going to pass through the headers. We're then going to pass through the body. So I'm just going to say, hello there, this is a test email. And that is all we need to do. So let's just recap, and then we'll go ahead and send this email. We've created a new instance of the pair mail class. We've defined headers, authentication information, connected via SMTP and then sent an email via SMTP by providing the email address we are sending to, the header information that we defined up here, and then we send the body. And that's it. Let's go ahead and open up our page here, hit enter, hopefully no errors, that's fine. Open up my mail client and we should receive an email through, and if we don't, we have got a problem. Okay, so it looks like we haven't actually received the email, so let's go ahead and review our code. Oh, there we go, so we've got a missing S on the end of our headers array. So it's always the simple errors. So let's go ahead and hit enter again. Hop over to our mail client and we should receive an email, there we go, with the subject of hello, which we defined just here. And then when we open this up, we have hello there, this is a test email. It's from the address that we expect it to be from, and obviously it's been sent to the email address that we expect it to be sent to. So in short, that is how we send email with SMTP in PHP.